All right, welcome in. Different look today. If you're here from Total Bases, this is the college basketball version. It's going to be called Full Court Press. We'll have a cool banner at some point. But right off the bat, I got to introduce my co-hosts. Brian Power in the middle, Rob Vino. Welcome in. I feel like, do you guys remember like being in school and you'd like have a final and then you'd study for like 3 weeks. You'd study for the final. You get to the final, and then you just forget everything that you've studied for 3 weeks. That's what I feel like right now, with 108 games. But welcome in time for college basketball.
Yes, I do remember forgetting everything after the final trig, but studying for 3 weeks, no, that was a little foreign, I think, to me.
That wasn't your thing?
Yeah, maybe 3 days, maybe 3 hours, but yes, definitely forgetting it all. But no. We're not going to forget anything after these games. We're going to make you guys some money here all college basketball season long. Great to be here along with you, Trig, and, of course, my good friend Rob Vino.
Yeah, guys, you know what? For me, it's an early start. I was commenting off air, 3 cups of coffee. Brian, you're with me. So, but we're ready to go. I mean, college basketball, the way these sports overlap nowadays, guys, I've been around the block a little bit since 1992 in this industry. And I mean, it just seems to happen earlier and earlier every year where we get football, college football, basketball, college basketball. And thank goodness I'm not a hockey guy because I don't know if I'd ever sleep.
Mm-hmm. Cody Butler says we better get all 108. Well, I don't know if we're going to get through all 108 in the hour, but I'll tell you what, this show is going to go similar to the way we did Total Bases. So we are going to appease the people that are nice enough to give us a job at this company, and we will hit a feature game at the top, which will typically be the biggest game of the day. Today we're going to do 2. So we're going to talk Florida, Arizona. We're going to talk Villanova, BYU. But then it's just like Total Bases. You fire the games that you want in the chat. We are going to get to those games, and we brought back the parlay of the day. So the parlay of the day, very simple. We'll each throw a leg out for a 3-team parlay, and our goal is to beat the baseball show, which I think we ended up 4.7 units doing 3-teamers for 6 months, which honestly is incredible. I can't believe we ended up plus units. So it'll be a big ask to somehow do that here, but that's what we're going to try to do. At any rate, let's get right into it. We've got people filing in. I will retweet this to Twitter in a second. But we're going to get started out in Las Vegas. First of 2 games that are going to make up the Hall of Fame Series Classic tonight at T-Mobile Arena. And I believe our only matchup on opening night of 2 ranked teams. So I'll start with Rob Vino. You get the Florida Gators, the Arizona Wildcats. This is the marquee matchup of tonight of the night, I would say, on a day of all great games, though. How are you seeing this one?
Yeah, I mean, you said marquee, Adam. This is, it has Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final 4 capabilities. These 2 teams both back. Florida, obviously, your defending champ, bringing a lot back to the table here. I'll start with the Florida side here and just say that, boy, that returning front court is going to be as good as there is in the nation. Those guys all performed well last year. Alec Condon, Thomas Hawk, et cetera, et cetera. I feel, Tommy Lloyd has said that he's got confidence in his front court as well, but I just don't see them matching up enough to the Florida front court. That being said, backcourt could be an issue for Florida. Now, when I say issue, I don't mean they're going to be bad because obviously you're bringing in transfer Xavier Lee and Boogie Flynn. Boogie Flynn, $2 million of NIL money to come from Arkansas to Florida. The question is going to be, do they mesh right away with the Florida team? Remember last year, Walter Clayton basically carried this team, right? And now Walter Clayton's out. Does Boogie Flynn just step right in and carry the way Walter Clayton did? I'm not so sure. I like the guards and the wing on the other side here. Obviously, Del Orso, a fabulous wing for Arizona. Jaden Bradley, maybe their top backcourt player. So it's kind of a give Arizona the backcourt edge, give Florida the front court edge. Looking at a point spread of UF, the Gators, -4. Almost tempted to take Arizona with the points here, guys. One big advantage in this particular set of games tonight is the floor that it's being played on. Arizona faithful are going to pack the Las Vegas venue, as are BYU faithful. We'll get to that game next. But it's a substantial crowd edge to Arizona here, which pushes me even further that way. So just general thought on that game. Again, I think Florida's the better front court, but Arizona the better backcourt. And in college basketball, it's been a long-standing adage that the better backcourt wins games. So I'm going to go that way. If Boogie Flan beats me or if Xavier Lee beats me, so be it. But early on, I think taking the points here with Arizona and I don't know, Adam, you'd be a pretty good gauge of this as well. I would say it's going to be like 80-20 Arizona, if not more. So I'll take that side, Arizona plus the points.
Yeah. First off, guys, nothing like starting the year by reminding me of a painful end to last college basketball season. Obviously, talk about Florida. I don't know. Trig, I know you were with me. Rob, I don't know. I can't remember offhand who you had in the championship game last year, but I laughed as soon as I saw this game was first on our rundown because I was like, has it really been only, 7 months since that painful, and for me at least, in my clients, the national championship game when Florida came back and ripped one away from Houston. Obviously, just to echo what Rob said, yes, I think what the known commodity with Florida is in the front court. This will be one of the best front courts in the country. But the backcourt, I think particularly, Clayton and Martin complemented each other very well. And we just don't know how the new backcourt is going to, particularly defensively, I think, is going to be an issue with this backcourt. Florida, I feel we know what they're going to be, right? The front court's great. The backcourt, it's going to take some time to mesh. Arizona, the chat's picked up on this. There's a lot of newcomers here. This was a team. Now, a big strength of Arizona last year was offensive rebounding. Are they going to enjoy that edge in this game here against the Florida team that I think, Trig, I don't want to put words in your mouth. We all think this front court's very good, right? So I think that's something. Look, I also lean towards taking the points here. I think something Rob brought up as far as the edge and crowd support. Obviously, that can't, players need to play still. The crowd's not going to win you the game. But I do think it is worth noting that Arizona should have a crowd edge. And I do lean towards taking the points here with the Wildcats.
Yeah, so Rob, do you have the odd screen up right now? Can you tell me what the number is right now on this game? Because I saw this one move a little bit this morning back and forth, which is interesting to me. Go ahead.
Opener real quick, Adam. Opened at 3.5, almost universally now 3.5. I see a stray 4. However, a respected offshore has gone down to 2.5 now. So you have a variance between 2.5 and 4, but almost universally 3.5 with a total of mostly 163.5, but you can find as low as 62.5, as high as 64.
So Cody says, I caught Gators minus 2.5. Yeah, that's the move I saw earlier. That's kind of what was, I guess, a little bit tempting to me. There was, I think, the first book that opened this line. This is one of like maybe 4 games that was widely opened at books maybe like a week ago, a while ago. It seems like a lot of books did not want to put lines up outside of the top couple games up until maybe Friday or Saturday, and then Caesar started doing that. But this one's been up for a while. And it was kind of 4. I posted to Twitter that my number was kind of right in line with that. When it moved to 2.5, like I kind of disagree with that move a little bit, all the way down to 2.5. So Cody, I'm with you. I don't mind the Gators at 2.5. I think that's probably a good bet. I don't think it gets better than that. Like if you like Florida, you should try to go find those 2.5s if they're still available. I do share some of the same sort of like. I guess with Florida, for example, you talked about Walter Clayton. It was really his numbers from the first year at Florida were very good, but it was really year 2 that he like totally took over and turned that Florida team into the contender, the championship team that they were last year. Like Xavier Lee's not going to do that, in my opinion. He was underwhelming to me last year, so I had very high hopes last year for that Princeton team, and they never really reached expectations. I think Lee is a good player, but this is kind of a step up for him. I don't know how he's going to handle the size of playing against these types of teams on a regular basis. Very crafty player. I think he'll be good. Fland obviously would be probably the one that would more or less take over the Clayton role. Where I think Arizona struggles in this one is up front. I don't think that's like I think that's probably how everyone's looking at this game. But I think Florida's size could overwhelm them. So for me, just based on where my number was, I was right around the 3.5, 4 range. When that dip, I kind of saw that dip to 2.5, and in my head, I said, well, I would probably play back at that. I didn't, but that's how I kind of looked at that one. So it would be a lean for me on Florida at 2.5. If it gets back up to 3.5 or 4, I don't think I have much interest in that game. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, what do we think about tempo? The tempo of this game is going to be played at Arizona. We know they like to play fast. Florida in the past has shown they're willing to do that. Obviously, first game of the year. Do we think? I mean, in terms of like a total, sure, I know totals aren't always your thing, but I think this game could be played at a pretty fast tempo.
I think Rob's our tempo guy, so I'll go to him.
Yeah, and I would agree, Brad. I mean, obviously, you need two hands to count the amount of times that Florida surpassed 90 last year, right? SEC play 90 up and down. Again, the question just becomes how cohesive they are on offense with the two guards, but I wouldn't play under here. I'll tell you that. There's always a case to be made for neutral site, different rims, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know about you guys, but it seems like every single one of these conference tournaments that gets played at one of the 5 Las Vegas venues is always an overdriven tournament. It's like they have the friendliest rims in the country in Las Vegas. So I would probably, like I said, I'm an over guy anyway, but this one, they're asking you to get 82 aside. I just don't know that that's that difficult at the pace this game will be played. And one more thing I'll add is I don't think either coach will back down from what they do best, right? They're just going to go out there and do what they do. And Todd Golden has showed us he likes his team to run. Obviously, Tommy Lloyd, they run at one of the fastest tempos in the country. So over or nothing for me.
All right. Normally, this is where we'll just get into the free-for-all. That will be like the next 50 minutes of the show during the regular season. But we're going to do a second sort of feature game where we'll kind of go around the table and talk about the other half of the tip-off classic or the Hall of Fame series, just to call it the correct name, out in Las Vegas tonight. Rob, you said, about the crowd. I mean, it's going to be all BYU fans. They travel in droves to Vegas. That's an easy trip for them. And they are, this is for me, it's the more interesting of the two. Now, I'm curious to see if you guys put any stock into the exhibition games, because this was one where it's like Villanova looked good in their exhibitions. That being said, like if I didn't know that and I looked at this Nova team on paper, I would say like this, I don't think this team is very good. They were kind of a team. I look at the roster and I'm just not that impressed. And then, like, of course, it's Kevin Willard. It's his first year there. I don't mind him as a coach, but like, to me, I feel like it's going to take him a year or two. Like, I don't see this team like winning in the Big East, but I think some people are like, well, they looked really good. I think they maybe played VCU and Virginia, going off memory, in their scrimmages and look good. So it's like, I don't think, my personal take is you shouldn't put much emphasis in any of these exhibitions that you saw, because teams are just, it's very preseason football-esque now with them even being televised. We used to have to like go into like message boards and see if we could get a score or a box score. Now they show them. I'm just wondering, is that so? Rob, have you what's your take on that? Do you feel like that's skewing like your way to look at these at all, or do you just totally ignore
it? Well, to each his own, right, Adam? But if you want to take the other side of the coin and talk about preseason games, nobody looked better than AJ DeBansta, the number one projected top 3 lottery pick in the NBA next year, brought in by BYU, who just lit up Nebraska for 30 in a preseason game. So BYU is an interesting case here, guys, because they've come from nowhere the last 2 years under Kevin Young. This will be his second year into the NIL era and into we're going to be, let's use Gonzaga as kind of the example for BYU, right? Just to make a comp. Gonzaga is a school that generally is always there, but not a Power 5 school. BYU, I know they're in the Big 12, but you just don't regard them as an Elite 8 capable team every single year. Now you almost have to. They bring in, as I mentioned, AJ DeBansta, but also Xavier Staten, 7-foot center, from Las Vegas, be home in front of the home folks here tonight. But the interesting thing about these two guys is that Staten left his high school to go play for Utah Prep, where he played alongside of DeBance the last year. So these two guys already know each other's games for a full year. Two rookies coming in, but they know each other extremely well. And you tack that on to Adam. You talked about not being high on Xavier Lee as a point guard out of Princeton, middle of the road. I'd give the opposite response to Robert Wright from Baylor being BYU's point guard now, a veteran leader who I think can be explosive. Richie Saunders comes back. I mean, this team, Kiba Keita comes back. It's team's loaded, to say it mildly. And I don't know that Villanova can keep up here. You know, if they were fully healthy, guys, and they're not, Villanova's got some injuries. Villanova's got some questions. Who's going to be our three-point shooter? Can we get a consistent inside scorer? Those types of things that have to be worked out at the beginning of the year on top of playing Kevin Willard's new system. So I think BYU probably puts a stamp on their brand immediately here tonight against Villanova. Again, we'll talk about crowd because it was funny. I was reading an article where Tommy Lloyd was saying, boy, I hope the BYU fans pile in early and add to our Arizona fans and give us even more of a crowd edge. The BYU, just as somebody who's lived in Las Vegas, the Mormon edge in that particular city is huge. They always fill Las Vegas venues. I like the BYU side, guys. You know what? I should take a look. And while Brian's giving his analysis, I'll take a look at the BYU team total here, because I don't know that Villanova, even if it's in the game plan to try and slow them down, BYU is so efficient. I think their team total might get over the number here.
That's interesting you say that, Rob, because I was thinking, in terms of the game, I was looking at just the game total, and I was thinking it looked a little high. I mean, I think Villanova's up against it here. You mentioned, and that's what I'd heard as well, that Villanova's dealing with some injuries. They entered this game a little bit banged up. Now, BYU could score. They were top 15 in the country, points per possession. You mentioned Saunders. He shot the three at an astronomical rate. I think it was 43% last year. So it's interesting that you isolate, because I do think BYU won't have much trouble scoring. I think Villanova's going to have a lot of problems scoring, though, in this game. To me, I look at 153.5. I don't know if BYU might get theirs, but I don't know if Villanova's going to get theirs. To me, I would look at Villanova's team total under, because to me, I think BYU covers the spread, but I don't think the game gets over 153.5. So that's the way I would look at it here. I just think this is a very, very tough opening matchup here for the Wildcats.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm high on BYU. Unfortunately, it seems like everyone else is as well. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, they've been great non-conference each of the last 2 years. Rob mentioned the last 2 years, what they've done. It's been great. It's been great. I remember 2 years ago, I mean, they're non-conference. Their point differential in the non-conference 2 seasons ago, BYU, was out of this world. I remember you and I were talking about that at Encore, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, and it's just to talk about, like, Brian and I were in Las Vegas one time a couple of years ago, and I just like casually drove to Salt Lake City for a minor league baseball game. He couldn't believe it, and I was like, "It's really not that far. It's a nice drive." And that's essentially what, Provo is actually a little bit closer, so that's essentially the drive.
That's so true.
I was going to say, if you want to know Adam Trigger, ladies and gentlemen, that story is pretty much it. Hang out in Las Vegas, and hey, BP, I'm going to go to a minor league game, and I'm going to go to a minor league baseball game tomorrow. Okay, I'm going to lay here in bed and feel like death warmed over, but go get on with your bad self, buddy.
I changed my flight from Vegas to Salt Lake to go home just because the Salt Lake Bees were playing and I could fit it into my schedule. And I dumped my rental car and then told them that there was flooding in Las Vegas, and that's why I needed to fly out of the other airport, and they didn't charge me for the drop fee. So that was very nice of them. So it would have been like another $160.
Take a note of that, chat room. Take a note of how to get out of
it. But at any rate, in terms of this game, so this was one that we got into it on Twitter. I was looking, I have so many notes here, poorly organized, that my number was actually like 9.5. And so even, I saw some other people say like, well, I've got the number much lower than that. The number I made for this one was 9.5, BYU minus 9.5. So I advised someone on Twitter. I was like, hey, if you like BYU, you should probably grab the 7.5 now. Rob, what are we looking at for a current line in this game? Is it still 7.5?
It's 9.5, Adam.
It's 9.5 now. Okay. So it's just
Well, and
Right.
I just noticed too, because I saw that question come when you were talking about the line. Trig, Circa's already moved to 10, which is probably notable.
See, like that sounds about right to me. Like the thing is, like, could Villanova see? This is the tough part about a lot of these games. Could Villanova put in an effort, hang around, and cover that number? Yeah, of course they could. But like, would I ever want to bet on that? Looking at this Villanova roster, new coach, the fact that it's like, and this is going to be my answer to a lot of these games today. I kind of want to see them play first, right? I kind of want to see one. It's why I'm not going to come out and I have 20 plus opinions, but like that I feel pretty good about. But this is why I'm only going to end up with like one or two bets because there's so many of them where I'm just like, you know what? I kind of want to see one first. That's how I feel about Villanova. Now, I do think Askew is going to be out for Nova. He's the transfer from Long Beach State. I don't think that matters a ton. I think he's more like they have other guys that can come in and take those minutes. But I mean, he was a projected starter probably for them. So that's just something to note. I lean BYU at the current number. It's an easy pass for me. But again, if you were following me on Twitter, I did say that I did like that game at 7.5 last week. So maybe some of you got on that. All right, we have 40 minutes for the free for all. So let's get right into it. Colin Gregory is one of my guys from he watched Total Bases every day. Great contributor to the chat and another thing that was great about the Total Bases show that hopefully we can keep going here is the show comments. So if you watch the replay on YouTube, drop a comment, maybe even a like, maybe even subscribe to the channel. But also it's a great way for us to talk hoops with you guys after the show. So we'll be in there. If you have a question you want answered or a comment, drop it on the show. One of the three of us will try to get in there. I try to get in and answer as many as I can. And so again, if we don't hit your game here, maybe we can hit it in the comment section on the YouTube channel. But Colin always puts great stuff in there. So shout out to Colin. He says, Colin, let me move. Hold on a second. Let me can I shut this comment off? I mean, I got my Bonnie zip up on here. Got to make sure that you can see that in the screen. He says, are we on the Bonnies early? And I was close. I was trying. This is another thing where it's like, I'd like to see one because I think St. Bonaventure is going to be better than they were last year. Big reason. Mark Schmidt is likely to play more than 6 guys a game, even though it's not something he definitely likes to keep his rotation tighter, but last year was just ridiculous. He was playing 6 guys a game toward the end of the season. They got tired. Like, honestly, if you go back to last season, there was games where St. Bonaventure played a fantastic first half against a very good team like a VCU or like a good team in the A-10, and they just had nothing in the second half because they were basically playing 6 guys. Now, this team, I don't know if this team is necessarily more like better than last year's team, but like when I look at the roster, they should be able to go 8 or 9 deep. And I just really like Mark Schmidt as a coach. I love what Woj and the program is doing. I have Mallory's cousin's an athlete right now at St. Bonaventure. She has multiple family members that played sports at St. Bonaventure. So I just like where the program is going in general. And I like Schmidt, to me, when I rate out coaches, he's at the top of the list. So the reason I couldn't get to the window with this here was a couple of reasons. One, and I'll go to Rob to see his take because I know he probably has a Bradley take here. But like, one, the number was kind of where I thought it would be. Even at 2.5, now it's 1.5. I kind of expected it to open in the 2 to 3 range. It did. I see St. Bonaventure's taking a little bit of a money. I agree with that personally. I made the number a pick. But Wardle's a great coach too. Like, they're both. I almost feel like they're mirror images of each other with where they're at this year in terms of like trying to replace some guys from last year. Bradley's going to have to replace Dean. Rob, help me out. Who is their other sort of stud from last year that's gone? And take over if you want.
Real quick here, Adam. I just want to, because you guys are going to focus mostly on sides where I'll focus an awful lot on total. So let me just take a different approach here really quick. And I'm glad you brought Brian Wardle into the analysis there, because my initial take was small play here on under. Brian Wardle's a guy who plays at snail's pace. St. Bonnie's not under Mark Schmidt is not going to play fast. You need total efficiency out of both offenses in a game like that. And I think the defenses are both too good to allow that. So you're looking at a number here. And I don't know, when you guys watch games, and I'm speaking to the chat as well, sometimes you don't realize how difficult it is to get to 140. Now, I know modern day basketball, a lot of these games are played up and down a lot more, but sometimes you watch these ones and you realize getting to 140 is not a picnic. And in the case of these two and their philosophies of their head coaches, 139 seems like an awful lot to me, guys. It opened 140. It has dropped to 139, 139 and a half, somewhere in there. So there's not a ton of movement on it, but it is a game that's coming up quickly here. So for me, it would be a slight play on the under. And I'm going to take one more thing that you said, Adam. We want to see these teams play a little bit. Therefore, and even when you see play recommendations from myself, at least early on, the amount bet on these games is going to be lessened early until we learn a little bit more. Don't run out there with these massive bets early on here. What we read, could come true. What we hear in interviews could come true. Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you what, college basketball, more than anything, what you read, and believe me, I think the three of us read a ton of stuff, including, for myself, Blue Ribbon and everything else. Boy, you can get filled with thoughts that don't come true early on. Yeah. But for me, this game is an under. Bri, go ahead.
I was going to say, that was an excellent point, Rob, about not falling in love with what you're reading in the preseason. There's just to make an analogy with college football, there's obviously a very prominent magazine in college football that had your four major conference winners as Penn State, Texas, Clemson, and Baylor. I got news for you. None of those four teams are going to win their respective conferences. I'm not trying to pick on anybody. I'm just saying that, particularly in college sports now, you do have to, and I would absolutely echo Rob's sentiments. I'm sure Adam would as well, that you have to be, don't come out guns ablaze. And I know it's so tempting with 108 games on opening day. Just because you read it doesn't necessarily mean it's true. Get those data points. Watch as much as you can early. These games, we were joking before. There's a lot of games on YouTube today. Don't need a subscription service for that one, by the way.
Yeah, no, it's not like it was 15, 20 years ago when you could come in super prepared. Here's the thing, you can come in prepared and beat numbers right now. You can come in prepared and you can probably read where the market's going to go and you can get your CLV and stuff like that. I think by making good numbers, but the problem is the event itself, the level of randomness is so high that it's if I were to be like, Brian, well, you could have +5 here. The market's going to go to 3. You'd be like, oh, I take +5. That sounds great. But then I tell you, but I have no idea what's going to happen over 40 minutes. So you're going to have a good number on this game, but it's going to be a free-for-all over 40 minutes. We have 7 new people on this roster, 9 new people on this roster, a new coach, guys that came from different programs who are learning a new system. It's the thing was 15, 20 years ago, you came in and you were November, December is where you made your money in college basketball. That has completely changed with NIL transfers, stuff like that. What I like to see the first week, I kind of for example, I'll go to I was going to go to a game. I'm going to go to a different game and then I'll go to the next chat question, which is Akron, James Madison. But I already hedged out of a bet. I'm already 1-1. I'm already 1-1 because, and I'll just talk about my thought process. So we'll talk Utah Tech, South Dakota for a second. I came in to the season I'm pretty high on the WAC. So it's I have a buddy down at Tarleton State. I go down once a year. I'll definitely be going down again this year. And I've gotten to know these WAC teams really good. And it's an interesting league this year because you have 7. There's only 7 teams in the league. They're about the WAC. Pour one out for the WAC. My Diet Pepsi right here. I'm not going to pour it on the floor of my house, but you know what? Pour one out for that league. It was a great league when we were growing up. Midnight games on Monday night. And it's been a good league for a long time. And I think we're finally going to see the WAC fold after this year. They're down to 7 teams. They are playing, I believe they are getting the NCAA tournament berth. They got an exemption to have one this year. You're supposed to have, I believe, 8 teams to get an NCAA tournament berth. But the reason I bring the WAC up is I think people are leaving this conference for dead because the conference is dead. But there are some really good teams still left that are, I think, going to now be underrated in non-conference play because people are well, it's the WAC. It's this league's, they're folding. They have no Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon left and went to the Mountain West. Seattle left and went to the WCC. And it's like, but there's still like 5 or 6 teams that are really good in a 7-team league that I'm interested in non-conference play. Now, Utah Tech is one of them. And this is where it comes into like, you can read all sorts of stuff, but it's like, so South Dakota, for example, one of the reasons I wanted to go against them was I read that they were very, very banged up in their exhibitions. And that was just a week ago. And now I'm kind of hearing some mixed things that like a lot of those guys are going to be back. So I had initially played Utah Tech plus 2.5. I saw the possibility of the market sort of going toward South Dakota. And then with the fact that like some of those guys might be back, I said, you know what? I'm off of it. So I still lean Utah Tech there for the one person in the chat that might want to hear about this game. I lean toward Utah Tech, but I hedged off because I just like, I thought I had a handicap there where maybe some guys would be out for South Dakota. It doesn't look like that's going to be the case. And I just don't feel like I know enough to now be confident keeping that bet. So I decided to get off of it. With that being said, if the market moves like the way I think it might, and all of a sudden Utah Tech's 4 or 5, I think you could take a shot with Utah Tech at 4 or 5. But that's just a good example of like, trying to be realistic about what you think you know. I think we know less than we think we do at this point, regardless of how like prepped we are. And I think that's a good example of it. Enough of me rambling for a second. Bryant, if you want to follow up to that, you can. But also, I want to go to you because we have a question about Akron JMU. You are our MAC. I'll be the MAC MAAC guy, but you're the MAC guy, the Mid-American Conference. You have a good beat on Akron. One of the best times I've ever had at a basketball game was with you at the Jar when we went to Akron a couple of years ago. So talk to me about Zips James Madison. How are you seeing this one?
Yeah, so look, Akron, they're the deserved preseason favorites to win the MAC. They've obviously won it the last 2 years, back-to-back NCAA tournament appearances. This is a team that was top 40 in offensive efficiency last year. Like I said, they're the deserved preseason favorites. They project as the best team in the conference, both ends of the floor coming into the year. Tavari Johnson led the team in assists, scored 13.8 points per game last year, 39% three-point shooting. The one interesting thing, though, with Akron, where I think there's a bit of an unknown, is the entire MAC played more up-tempo than usual last year, guys, particularly Akron. This was a team that, typically had not played at a fast tempo in previous seasons. And now they're facing a James Madison team. This was a team that was outside the top 300 in total possessions per game. So I look at this. I don't want to lay it with Akron here, but I look at the under as possibly a good buy. I know Rob, is someone who is going to be taking a look more at totals than us. But, if you forced me to make a bet on this game, I would look to the under because I'm not convinced Akron is going to play at the pace at which we saw last year, again this year against JMU. And of course, and as I just said, JMU was not a team that played fast at all. So possessions could be limited in this one.
All right, we're gonna try to we'll try to get through like the chat questions and the other games, just kind of bouncing around. So I'm gonna go to Rob because I know he's got so Lake Show Magazine says Omaha first half was a money maker last season, and Omaha in general was a money maker last season. That was an awesome team that kind of came out of I don't know if they came out of nowhere, but certainly as a guy that's not super Summit League dialed like some other people are, they kind of came out of nowhere to me. Now they're coming into the season with some expectations, Rob, and they're going to run into a good Murray State team. This is a day game. I believe this is the first of 3 out in South Dakota as part of their leg of the Field of 68 opening day sort of marathon. So let's go to you, Murray State, Omaha.
Yeah, and Adam, I know you and I had a discussion a couple of weeks ago where I was just randomly giving you a couple of my thoughts as far as totals are concerned. And one of the things I generally look for are coaching changes that result in tempo changes. And we have that in spades here with Murray State. Steve Prom out, Ryan Miller in. For those who don't know, Ryan Miller was an assistant on the Creighton staff. Under Steve Prom last year, Murray State slowed it down tremendously. I think when I looked it up last night, they were sub 300 in tempo ratings from KenPom. Now you go to Ryan Miller, who is telling anybody that'll listen, that they're going to play fast. They're going to play Creighton-style basketball for what it's worth. It's going to be up-tempo. He wants to go quick. He wants to push pace. And you run into an Omaha team that scored 80-plus offensively in 15 of their last 17, and that team returns quite a bit. And that actually, as Adam said, is projected by many to finish number one in the Summit. So you have a fast-paced Omaha team running into a team in transition or transitioning their styles, which is Murray State. Murray State went out in their, I think it was their initial preseason game, and scored 75, which is an upgrade for them. The bettors have gotten to this number because it's an early game, right? I think it went from 40. In fact, you know what? Let me just get to the Odds Logic screen real quick here. And for those of you, shameless plug, if you're going to bet these games every single day and you want to have the quickest availability to line moves as they happen, injuries, et cetera, go ahead and visit wagertalk.com and you can pick up a free trial, 7-day free trial for Odds Logic. I'm sure once you have it, you won't want to go back. Murray
100%.
State right now, guys, side and total here, 4.5, some 5s. Game total is going up from 147.5 up to 151.5 in some venues. You shop the best of the number. That's the best we could tell you, because these, when you're staring at 24 different books, you're going to find line variance. So go ahead and shop for the best number. But for me, I got in here on this total. And I think it's going to be a quickly played game. I think that, you know, the Nebraska-Omaha side knows what they do best. Murray State's going to do what they do best. And, you know, a lot of times when we talk tempo, guys, I think the initial thought is, well, that means your offense is better. But I use this correlation to football a lot of times too. When you play fast-paced, open-floor basketball games, and in the case of Murray State, when it's your initial game changing to that system, it just leads to a lot of lost assignments on the defensive end, right? The less structured the game is, the more apt you are to make a defensive mistake. And I think Murray State might fall into that category here against this team that knows what they're doing on offense. So for me, and Missouri Valley is, because my oldest went to Belmont, it's kind of a league that I follow. I think Murray State's going to be a team that we can get on here where totals are concerned. But as I mentioned, you know, the betting market isn't dumb, guys, if you haven't realized. And they have pushed this one up. I still think there's wiggle room to get up and over 151.
Better plug this in before my computer dies. Didn't realize it wasn't plugged in right there. That was, I just want to say one thing about Odds Logic. Someone in the chat says, well, if Odds Logic won me a bet, I would pay for it, but it hasn't. Listen, Odds Logic is not going to win you a bet. You have to win the bet. But what Odds Logic is going to do, if you have your books organized appropriately, like I'm looking at right now, is going to tell you that St. Bonaventure is going to be a favorite, and you're going to have time to go bet that at another book where it's still plus 1.5, and that's essentially what's going on right now. The Bonnies, a lot of places have already moved to minus. No, now they flipped to a favorite. It's still been hanging out there at plus 1.5 at other books. That's what Odds Logic's going to do for you, not win you a bet. But let me tell you something, like being able to sort of get ahead of that is, you know, that's the game. And, you know, it's, you have to sort of know where you want to go. But for people that are actually trying to do this, I feel like you have to have that screen open. It's invaluable in my opinion. So that is, in my opinion, the advantage to having an odd screen up. And for the money, Odds Logic, I mean, it says, in my opinion, it's as good as a lot of these other ones that charge exponentially more. So why would you not go with the better bang for your buck? That'll be my Odds Logic promo. Cody Butler, as we continue to move on through the games here, he wants to know about Arkansas State. And we just happen to have an Ohio Bobcat here on the panel, which is Brian Power, Ohio graduate. So I will, and now I'm like, my brain is fried. I have to make sure that is in fact who Ohio and Arkansas State is playing Ohio, right?
Yes, they will be visiting A-Town.
So I'm going to go over to you right now. Arkansas State, A-Town being Athens, Ohio. Is that correct?
Yes.
That's
yes.
Take it away.
The best Athens, and the real OU, of course, too. No, look, here's the deal with Ohio U. What they bring Jackson Paveleski back. He's one of the MAC's best players. Okay, But two areas of concern for me, guys, with the Bobcats coming into the year. This was not a good offensive rebounding team last season, nor were they very good at defending the three. They're going to have to shore those two issues up. So, we talk about looking at where the money is moving so far. Money's coming in on the dog. I could see why maybe that's attracted some of you. There's also money coming in on the over here. Slight leans. I actually would look to fade the alma mater here, Trig. I would maybe consider taking the points with Arkansas State. I also do think, look, this total's kind of gotten a little bit away from you if you haven't already gotten it. I mean, you look at a number of 159, 159 and a half. This is the first game of the season. A lot of things got to go right. Rob talked about how hard it is to get over a number of 140 early, and people don't think that's that hard. Well, how about getting over 159 and a half? That seems a little hard. I am concerned about OU and their, but then again, guys, and feel free to share your thoughts on this. When you look at 3-point variance is so much, right? If we could all predict 3-point variance, we'd be millionaires when it comes to betting college basketball, right? So there is an argument, well, OU didn't defend the three well, Ohio didn't defend the three well last year. Does that improve this year? I suppose there is an argument that, yes, it does. But I don't know. You forced me to make a pick here. I would actually bet against a place that treated me very well from 1998 to 2002, Trig. And I would take the points with Arkansas State against my alma mater, Ohio University.
All right, I am gonna. Before we get back to the chat, I'm actually gonna give one. I'm gonna give a client play out on the show, and I'm going to lock in. This will be my parlay leg for the parlay, but this is also going to be a 3%er, and that's what I am trying to lock in right now. So. I told you I follow the WAC and and it looks like Freddie Hicks is going to be allowed to play for Tarleton State. Now, I know that this was something that was maybe reported a couple of days ago, but he is in and he is playing tonight. And that, to me, in a game where it was already like, listen, I already like this Tarleton State team. I think they have a lot of of talent relative to their league. Dior Johnson, guy that started at Pitt, ended up at UCF. He's now there. So the fact that Hicks was he's been, so just to make an Arkansas State parallel, Freddie Hicks was the best player on Tarleton, one of the best players in the conference. He goes to Arkansas State for a year, doesn't work out. He comes back last year and would have easily been their best player. If he was healthy all year, he would have easily been their best player all year. He would have probably been one of the best players in that league, but he really dealt with injury. I believe that's part of the reason he's able to play, because I think he played so few games last year that he maybe got some extra eligibility out of that. Because I think he only played maybe 5 or 6 games total. So the fact that he's going to be able to play with a Tarleton squad that I think has a lot to like on the team in addition to him. The whole Billy Gillespie thing blew over. It was a non-issue. He's back at the helm. His teams play hard. You're going to give me 21.5 points, which is where a lot of these plays. So you'll shop around. DraftKings still at 21.5. Looks like 365 is still at 21.5. Some of these are going to go. Some of these are trending back toward 20.5. I believe that's where this opened. That's just a big number for a team that I think could be scrappy. Gillespie's teams are typically play a little bit slower. They're defensive teams. And Hicks, one thing about Freddie Hicks is when he is on the court, that dude draws as many fouls as anyone in the country. He lives at the free throw line, one of the highest free throw rates of any player in college basketball the last couple of years. And I just think if you can do that in a game with a 21-point spread, you have a good chance to be on the right side of 21.5 points. So that's a 3%er for me, and I will make that the leg of the parlay that I'm going to contribute. Tarleton State plus 21.5. Yeah, that's a play. I just put it out for clients, and I'm just jotting it down. I still think 21.5s are available. You might see 21s, 20.5s, but you should be able to get 21.5 somewhere. So yeah, that is one of my plays, and we'll lock that in for. Say again.
How generous of you right there. And just another reason to tune in to this show each and every morning. We should point out we are here each and every morning 10 a.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. Everyone will be with you all college basketball season. And yes, there you go. Trig giving you a
and shout out Rowdy Rhymes. Rowdy Rhymes in the chat. Love his content. And if he likes it, that makes me like it even more. So,
okay.
Yeah, he feels like 21 points is too much. And yeah, I mean, listen, SMU clear. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and do a breakdown of like what team's better. It's obviously SMU, but you talk about a team that could potentially slow it down enough or just like make the game ugly. Why not 21.5 points? Oh, Ethan. Love this. Boots on the ground for Colgate MSU. Ethan, Brian Power and I will be in town next weekend for Michigan State, Arkansas. So we'll have to know if your boots are on the ground for that. Maybe we can meet up. We're going to be going to a couple games in the Ohio, I guess, area. I just like casually was like, oh, we'll go to East Lansing. It's right around the corner. Brian's like, well, it's actually 2 hours away, but we're going to make it work. We're going to go to Toledo during the day and Michigan State at night. So hopefully we can meet up with you. That's also my goal. As I go around to these different games, like we'll be in Ohio this weekend. If you're like around and you like want to go to a game, like hit me up. I might be able. I don't know about that one because that's like 2 top 25 teams, probably a sellout. But like when we're at like Toledo and Bowling Green and stuff like that, hit us up. Well, Brian, right? Like we probably at the games we've gone to together, we've probably met quite a few people at this point.
Oh yeah,
someone came to Akron with us.
Yes, that's one of the great things about going to these. People obviously know that I always go to the Guardians Day games throughout the year. I've met people have come up to me when I've been standing there. We've talked and stuff, so it's great. I always love meeting people when I'm at these games. But yeah, so Saturday we're a double shot. Trig, you and I is the plan. Toledo during the day, Michigan State at night, to help promote Full Court Press.
Yeah, hopefully we get our Wager Talk offices are up in where the video people are up in Detroit. So maybe we'll get some of the Wager Talk folks out for that one. It'll be a good time regardless. But Rob, I'm going to start this one off and throw a little Colgate, angle here. But then talk to me about Michigan State a little bit, and if you see this one the same way at all. So Colgate is in my backyard. I live in Central New York. The Colgate campus is about 30 minutes from my house. If they're going to go to like anything that somewhat resembles a city, it's probably Oneida. Hamilton is in the middle of nowhere, like completely in the middle of nowhere. Great little town though. Very, very cool little town. That's where Colgate is. So I get down to a lot of Colgate games. I follow the program closely, and I feel like even Langle's better teams have not played up to this spot very well. I actually listed them out on Twitter a few days ago. I'm not going to be able to find it, but I'll do it off the top of my head. Like I'm going to throw last year out for Colgate because I think that was one of the worst teams he's had in the last maybe like 5. Well, it was, you had a Colgate mini dynasty that won the Patriot League every single year, went to the NCAA tournament. Last year's team was clearly not that. So I'm going to go back to the previous couple of years, and you have non-conference games similar to this one. Was like Auburn, where they got crushed. Illinois, they got crushed. Texas in the NCAA tournament beat them pretty big. So, like, to me, they get respect because you're going to see a lot of previews have them winning the Patriot League again this year. And I think they're getting too much respect in the line. I make this sort of mid-20s. And when it opened, which I think was like earlier today or last night, it was only like 20.5 or 21. So I think Colgate might be at a disadvantage in a spot like this against a big team. Historically, they have not played good when they go super up to play the elite teams in non-conference play. And I think collectively the Patriot League is very down. So I'll let whoever wants to chime in, Michigan State or Colgate, give me the Michigan State point of view here for this one.
I'll go real quick here. I'm just scrolling the the odds logic to try and get the exact number on it right now. But I think, to me, as somebody who doesn't have a play on the game, the handicap is sort of simplistic here. First of all, let's just start with the flawed part of Michigan State, or the perceived flawed part to start the season, which would be the backcourt. Lost a ton of backcourt capability. And, of course, teams like Michigan State reload. But we talked about it earlier with, I think, the Florida side, the cohesiveness in an NIL era tends to take some time or sometimes it jumps right off the page and works. So that's hard to predict. But what's not hard to predict is when you have a Colgate team that's going to start basically 4 guards and wings against a Michigan State team that's extremely large, the rebounding edge, the inside scoring edge. And I would even point out for a Tom Izzo team, likely the defensive edge. If Colgate's going to score here, it's going to be perimeter type scoring. I'm not sure that Colgate would ever get into a fast break game with Michigan State because they'd lose that battle as well. So the scoring on the Colgate side is going to be pretty difficult if we just use Tom Izzo's defensive philosophy as an example here. You have a bigger team that's going to defend a team that needs to shoot from the perimeter really well. Unless Michigan State's perimeter defense is in complete breakdown tonight, or unless Colgate has some type of game plan devised to constantly get open shots and open looks, I wouldn't think that they score extremely high in this game. And again, I stopped searching there just to scroll for the total. Either of you guys see that total in front of you? I want to look here real quick. Board is so large. Colgate.
I know this is while you look for that, this is a Monday through Friday show, and like we'll almost never, it's a weekday show 5 days a week. We're going to be here in this same time slot, 10 a.m. Monday through Friday. We'll almost never have 100+ games on a weekday. So I think this will go much smoother, like when there's like 30 games, 40 games. But yeah, the board is massive today. And I have totally lost my spot.
144 and a half. 144 and a half.
Hey, thank you, Brian. I mean, I'm on my third scrolling here. To me, 144 and a half is just a little excessive here. I don't know that Tom Izzo is a guy who runs up scores. I could see something in the 78 to 60 vicinity, 78 to 56 vicinity, which keeps you well under. So for me, just off of basic simplistic handicap, it would be a game under. Real quick, guys, if you'll allow me to, I'm just going to jump real fast to something that's, close and sort of in my backyard, so to speak. Not that I live geographically near it, but the Belmont Bruins take on Air Force today. And Belmont, obviously, they come in with the same fingerprint that they have every single year. It's a great three-point shooting team. Casey Alexander is going to run. They have a huge advantage tonight. This game's bumped from 14 to 15 and a half, but there's an interesting story behind Tyler Lundblade, the Belmont top three-point shooter, a guy that Casey Alexander calls the best three-point shooter that Belmont's ever had, which is high praise considering the players that they've had. But Belmont walks in here with a superior backcourt, superior shooting. Air Force is a team in complete and total transition. Last I read, and it's not always the easiest thing to find in-depth articles on the Air Force Academy. But I happened to find one where Joe Scott said he's still searching for starting pieces, rotational pieces. Like they don't even know where they're at this point in time. And you're going to walk into a place I'm somewhat familiar with, the Michael Curb Center in Nashville, Tennessee, and take on Belmont. And you're just probably going to get the lights shot out on you. Air Force is a team that wants to shoot threes. It's really all they do, searching for players that can do it as we speak. So for me, 15 and a half, the way Belmont can score, margin can be created pretty easily by that team and in spurts. I think minus 15 and a half might be a pretty decent side with Belmont tonight as Air Force struggles to figure out exactly who they're going to play 1 through 7, 1 through 8, whatever it may end up being.
I got to agree with you there. Air Force is going to be one of the worst teams in I know the Mountain West is not exactly a power conference. It's kind of in that next tier. I guess I would put it in the tier below the power leagues. Yeah. Which, it's kind of like the A10, like it's still a pretty big league. And they're going to probably be the worst team in any somewhat major league. People call those mid majors. That's the Mountain West and the A10 really are not mid majors in my opinion. I went to a mid major. Siena's a mid major. I guess we might need to redefine what mid major is, what low major is. But the point is, I still look at the Mountain West with teams that contend for, the San Diego States of the world, the Boise's, the New Mexicos. Those are teams that leagues that are going to put 3-4 teams in the NCAA tournament is not really a mid major league. Yep. This is going to be one of the worst teams, maybe the worst team in any league like that. And then you talk about, Ethan Taylor last year was the guy that bailed them out. they were so bad last year, but at least he could like single-handedly bail them out a lot of times. And to not have him there now is just I'm with you, Rob. I don't see how Air Force. It is just a rough scenario for them, in my opinion. I want to go back to a game. I'm going to go to you, Brian. I'll cue this one up. But do we have can we get a Coppin State, Maryland number right now? Where is the number?
State, Maryland. I was going to add one thing to Air Force, just a little pro tip.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
it's tough to fit tall guys in those airplanes. Remember, that's a problem. So when you have to field a basketball team, remember that about Air Force, gang. That they're at a disadvantage from the start. Tell you what, that's why I never joined the Air Force, Rob. They don't like tall guys. Let's see, Coppin State and Maryland. Yes, right now that is 28.5 with a total of 138.5. So odds makers are not expecting a lot of points from the underdog in that one.
Yeah. So what I was going to say about Coppin, and if you want to follow up on the Maryland side, like I had responded to someone on Twitter about this one. So this game is actually at it's on a neutral court, but it's like it used to be the Royal Farms Arena. I know it's like called something else now, but it's that neutral court in Baltimore. They're
CFG
also playing CFG Bank. They're also playing the Towson Loyola game there after that. But like, so someone asked me about this one on Twitter last week. I actually made Maryland minus 29.5 here. I thought this was going to open in the 23 to 24 range. It looks like it actually opened in like the 28.5, 27, like 28.5 range, which I think the books got correct. I think Coppin State's going to be one of the worst teams in Division I. Now, I did hear Maryland might be missing some guys. I don't know if anyone's heard anything about that. But like my question for you, Brian, is will it even matter? Do they are they, can they name their score?
I don't think I've ever laid 28.5 points. I don't want to do that. I think what happens is if you twisted my arm to make a play on this, I would look at the under, right? Because I think we can all envision a scenario where Maryland's up big and guess what's going to happen? It's a neutral setting and guess what's going to happen late? Okay, we don't have to worry about free throws. The pace is going to die. It is a low total, but again, Rob brought it up earlier in the show. Getting to 140, not as easy as you think, guys. We're at 138.5. I see the unders taking some money, actually, at some sharper books. I would lean towards the under in this scenario. I'll just get this out right now, too, for my leg of the parlay. There's a lot of totals I was looking at. There's a lot of numbers that have really gotten away. Particularly, man, I mean, how about that total in the Ohio State game, guys? My God, they're betting the over like they already know the final score. But the one game that I like the over is Hofstra UCF. This is one game where I actually think the total, I'm going to punch back at the market a little bit. That number's come down. And at 140.5, I would go over. So mark that down, Trig, for my leg of the three-legged parlay over Hofstra UCF. And guys, we also, this is a college basketball show, but don't forget, of course, if you're watching Monday Night Football as well tonight, I can't speak for these two gentlemen. I know I do have a Monday Night Football bet on the board at WT.buzz/BP, coming off a 4-1 weekend in football. I feel it should have been better, Rob. All my teaser legs, I didn't need to tease any of them, it turned out. And then, of course, my top play was Houston, where C.J. Stroud gets decapitated in the second quarter, and then Houston's offense. I had money on Davis Mills, unfortunately, for more than a half, and that's just not something you want to be. But it was still a 4-1 weekend in football. You'll obviously take that any weekend. So go over, check that Monday Night Football bet out. Of course, we've got the Ultimate Football Pass available for any of the three of us right now, where you can get all the football picks for the remainder of the season, just $35 per week.
Yeah, I got to listen. I told the producers and our staff that I'd do my best to keep this show to an hour, and I promise I will do that going forward. But like, we're gonna go over by like a minute or two today. There's a trillion games. I'm gonna go to Rob for his parlay leg in a second, and we'll give him a second to get that ready. I want to answer Fixer's question. Are we still on Siena? Are you going to the game? I'm assuming you're wagering on that game. So I actually was going to go to this game. Now I'm not. I'm gonna go 2 Mondays from now. They host Colgate. I will be at that game. I am going. I passed on going to this one, so I could go to games all weekend with Brian in the Ohio area. So that's when I'll be hitting games this weekend. Toledo, Bowling Green, and Michigan State in the span of about 24 hours. So that'll be fun. Are we still on Siena? So this is like the conundrum for me about betting a lot of these opening night games. I think Siena's going to absolutely destroy Bryant. So Bryant's head coach, Jamion Christian, was the Siena head coach for a year. The one thing even though he bounced after a year to take the George Washington job, he did get us Jalen Pickett. So I'll give him credit for that. He graced our program with Jalen Pickett, which obviously, as you know, not many NBA players coming out of Siena College. And of course, he went on to play at Penn State. But the thing is with him, he was been out of coaching. He went over to Italy to coach for a few years. He comes back. He gets the Bryant job. I think he'll be fine there, like long term. I think he'll put together a decent program there. But this is the first night, and he is out of you just don't know what you're going to get from this Bryant team. And my gut says it's going to take some time. They're not going to be the same team they were with Martelli last year. He plays a totally different style. I think Siena's going to be awesome. I think they're going to win the MAC. I was hoping to get -5 or 5, or I was hoping to only have to lay 5 or 6. So to have to lay 8, I haven't done it. I'm probably not going to do it, but I certainly lean Siena there. All right, Rob, finish us up with your parlay leg, and then we'll call it.
Yeah, fairly easy, guys, because I chimed in with it purposely in case we didn't have time. But I like the Belmont Bruins here, -15.5. You guys even hopped on the bandwagon to expand on what Air Force lacks so far this season. But again, you have a team that comes into this season. I have high hopes for Belmont in the Missouri Valley, a league that is going to, by most projections, be trying to catch Illinois State. We'll have a lot of Missouri Valley talk this season. But for today, just to keep it simple, Belmont -15.5 over Air Force is my leg of the parlay.
And since we don't have to mess around with the money lines as much, because it's not baseball, that's your standard 6-1 right there. Everything is -110. So obviously that should be a plus. That should be a 6-1. No one put any crazy favorites in the money in the thing. I didn't do that bad. It's only 11:01. I'm over here thinking I'm way over on time. It's only 11:01.
I saw Dan Alexander peek in. I don't know if that was a message from somebody or what. he was laughing too. I don't know if that also was.
We have other shows on Wager Talk that go at 11, so we're trying to fit into the hour. But if the stream did get cut off, you're seeing this on the replay, so it's all good. Appreciate you guys tuning in. We will do this every day, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. It'll get better as we go because there'll be less games and we can spend more time on them. If we missed your game, hop in the comments below. We'll hit it throughout the day. Appreciate you guys tuning in, and let's have a great season. We'll see you guys tomorrow morning, 10 a.m.